Hey, I'm Kevin from the Mutineer rock band bucket list project, and coming up on what I think is kind of an interesting time right now here. It's the middle of October, or almost that, of 2016 while I'm recording this. And by the way, I know I don't look really very rock and roll right now. Maybe I never do. This is kind of how I look during the day, and I promised myself that I'd leave these updates for myself, if for nobody else, because I know that eventually I'm going to get to completion with this project. And when I do, I'm going to want to be able to look back on these videos, on the blogs, on how the demos progressed, and just remind myself of what it took to be able to complete the task that still seems pretty monumental at this point, particularly because we're in a period now, I'm in a period now, where it just feels like we're at a little bit of an ebb. And there are a couple of main reasons for that. And I think the timing is interesting, but I'll get to that in a second. One of them is that I just, a couple of weeks ago, just got exhausted. I never got like a cough or cold or flu, which a lot of people around me here in Ontario, Canada, have been just leveled with feeling sick recently. I think I've been healthier this year than I've ever been. I just, every once in a long while, find that my system just goes and I lose all my energy for a couple of days. So about two and a half weeks ago, I was just no good. I was just toast and slept for the better part of a couple of days. And I thought, you know, Kev, you're pushing yourself a little hard. You're going to need to pull back in a few areas until you can kind of catch your groove again. And so the Mutineer thing was one of them. But that having been said, it was in that window that I got the last demo out called Redundancy. I'll put a link to it in the video description here on YouTube. I was pleased with that, although it sounds kind of muddy and pretty loose. The song is still there. You can hear, I think, where I'm going with the song. So that was cool. That's the third tune that I've been able to get at least into a point where it's shareable, at least as far as I'm concerned. The other thing that's kind of tripped me up, and this really ticks me off, I gotta be honest with you, although I'm not the kind of personality that I like to just complain about stuff, but twice this year now, Microsoft has updated Windows without me asking for it. And the reason why that's a pain in the ass is that the first time that it happened, it took my desktop computer that I used to work on this stuff and many other things besides from Windows 7 to Windows 10. I didn't want Windows 10, but I got it now. That wouldn't even be such a big deal except for the version of Cubase that I'm using, which is the digital audio workstation, which I don't even really know what I'm doing with it, but I'm just starting to kind of figure it out and use it both for the Mutineer project and for my podcast, which is called the No Schedule Man podcast. That's a whole other story. But I use it for a couple of different things. When Microsoft changes things around, that seems to mess up what they call the e-licenser for Cubase, which is basically a software key that allows me to use the program that I bought and paid for. So the last time Steinberg got back to me, Steinberg, the company that owns Cubase, I email support. What do? Here's the key that came with the program that I bought. That's telling me that it doesn't work anymore, it's not valid. Well, they fixed that within a couple of days. This time we're going on almost 3 weeks and I still have not heard back from them. And it pisses me off because I spent money on this thing so that I could use it. And then I don't know whether I'm more angry at Microsoft or at Steinberg for not getting back to me, but either way I can't use the program. So Steinberg, I'm just about at the point of giving up on your program and maybe going back to Reaper, which I was using a couple of years ago. I don't know. So I'll maybe try that. But it's indicative of when you're trying to do something, and life is like this, isn't it? Where sometimes stuff just pops up. You know, all of a sudden you get a flat tire, or you wake up one morning and you get a sore tooth, or something happens with one of your kids, or your wife or your husband, or something at work that you weren't expecting, and you just got to deal with it. And so when you've got a goal to try to achieve, I think it's the same way. And that's where I am now, where it just feels kind of like the spark's gone out a little bit. The pilot light's still lit. Don't get me wrong. We're still moving forward. It's just we're in one of those times where it requires a little bit more of a push. Even with my physical training, I have my bloody left leg. I think it's a shin splint in my leg. That is just, it cropped up about a month ago, and it's been bad enough that I haven't been able to do what I want to do at the gym. I'm not a workout freak, but I like to run around and get a bit of a sweat going. And I've noted in some of the blogs at mutineerband.com that I want to be in pretty good physical shape to be able to do the show that, or shows that will go with this once the project is ready to roll. So I'm kind of looking at that as almost like a boxer training for a fight. I'm looking at that off in the distance, and anyway, that's taken a hit. And then my energy is lower, which means because I'm not getting as good of a workout, So my energy's lower, which means it's tougher to spend extra time outside of work on things like this and everything else I'm involved with. I sound like I'm complaining probably, so I don't want to do that. But to wrap up, it's an interesting time coming up in the middle of October. It was this time last year that I was driving up to the Georgian Bay area here in Ontario, Canada, to make the annual trip to help my mom close her cottage up for the year. And that's where I got the spark of inspiration about Mutineer for April of 2017. I thought, here we go. That's the time. I've told that story. It's up on the website. And now all of a sudden, April of 2017 seems really, really, really close. But I can still get a lot done between now and then. So we'll just see. But right now, as I document the trail, we're at a little bit of a low tide. But I'm more interested in being the tortoise than the hare. So the good news is we're still moving forward. We're just taking some smaller steps. So anyway, I'm going to get rid of the the corporate look, maybe go throw on jeans and a t-shirt, fire this thing up and work some stress out. Thanks for spending a couple of minutes with me. I'll see you next time.